a fierce king, cruel lord, liar and thief, pedophile in power, and, well, you want to talk about gaslighting? Well, now this pedophile is telling your children, whom he says bombing schools is lots of fun. You know, it's just having fun, but you want to talk about gaslighting? Well, this video gets into it as we go into shameful spewing against Edom, right? Against Babylon, against the king of Babylon, right? And, well, Donald Trump just happens to be the epitome of all that. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakah Kadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there on the four corners of the earth proclaim his truth. Brakah the Yahweh, Brakah the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakah Kadash, Brakah Tam.
All right, let's talk about the gaslighting that's been going on about this war in Iran. Trump tells a group of children that if it weren't for his war in Iran, we'd all be blown to smithereens.
We just broke every record, and now we're going to take a hit, because we have to make a journey down to Iran to take the nuclear weapon. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks. Remember, we sent that beautiful B-2 bomber in, and we blew up their nuclear potential. It was obliterated, for those that are not aware. To a point
and we bombed the school because it was fun.
We let them dig down. We have our eyes
we kill kids like you.
But it was a very important thing. So
want to come with me to Epstein Island?
Iran with a nuclear weapon, and maybe we wouldn't all be here right now. I can tell you, the Middle East would have been gone, Israel would have been gone, and they would have tried to attack some Europe first, and then us, because there's
it's Trump shit.
And we're not going to let lunatics have a nuclear weapon. The power of
lunatics like you tried to blow them away last weekend.
It's not going to happen, and we have beaten them badly.
Arguably, it is sick, takes a sick person and a terrible person to tell a group of children that if it weren't for your war and your B-2 bomber, that they would be blown to smithereens, and that Israel would be blown to smithereens. So there he is, you know, gaslighting children. I mean, this is the type of conversation that I think a lot of parents would be upset at if they went to a family gathering and, you know, Uncle Jack sits down, or Uncle Don here sits down and says, you know, little one, if it weren't for that war, you'd be blown to smithereens.
Or better yet, they could go to the Veterans Hall and they talk about it.
And
they blame the vets.
Uncle Donnie here is doing, Grandpa Donnie here in the White House, scaring these children. This is the gaslighting. I mean, this is the attempt at gaslighting, starting with the youngest of our generations, is telling them, look, if it weren't for this war, which, by the way, when your parents were your age, we told them the same thing, that one day, soon, 2 weeks, in fact, Iran's going to get a nuclear weapon and blow them to smithereens. Well, it didn't work on them, and so now we're going to try it on you. The gaslighting doesn't stop with Donald Trump in the White House and with little children. Naftali Bennett, the former Prime Minister of Israel, also told us Americans here in this clip I'm going to show you that if we don't support Israel, well, we might just find ourselves having a little 9/11 attack.
So they're the ones that carried it out.
The reality is,
oh, there he is.
That Israel is a democracy.
This is the same guy who threatened to wipe Damascus off the map.
Exactly.
And threatens Turkey.
Okay, and you've got the Middle East festering with jihadists and Al-Qaeda type and ISIS and Hezbollah.
You're ISIS.
What'll happen? They're going to hit the Twin Towers, 9/11.
You were in New York when
I was in Manhattan when it happened. I saw those buildings on fire. That's what happens when you say...
You have to talk about gaslighting, right? Here's Amalek.
So the radical Islamists will come to the big Satan, to Manhattan, to California, to
well, at least you call it Great Satan.
Nuclear ballistic missiles. And by having Israel, you do not need to send hundreds of thousands of boots on the ground, because we, Israelis, are 10 million boots on the ground, always here. Yeah. This aircraft carrier called Israel is not going anywhere. We're here to stay. We're not asking, and we never asked America to fight for us. We're fighting right now.
Boy, talk about gaslighting.
We can defend ourselves. We do need America to have our back.
Are you confused by that message? Because I just was. We don't need you to fight our wars for us. We'll do it together. They've never sent us any troops. And in fact, right now, I mean, they're hoping for Americans to get on the ground in Iran. They're not going to send any of their troops to Iran. No, they're busy taking Lebanon, and they're still busy taking Gaza. That's what they're doing.
And
so that's
Syria.
What we're taking land while we're occupied with the enemy, Iran.
To mention Syria.
Yes, they are doing some, they are in the sky with us against Iran right now, but that's it. They won't even put boots on the ground in Iran. So, you know, more lies. They've actually never offered troops for any of our Middle East wars that we fought for them. Not once. Afghanistan, Iraq, never have the Israelis ever fought side by side with Americans. Never happened. So But we don't need you to fight our wars for us. But if you don't fight our wars for us, then another 9/11 style attack is going to happen to you. This one makes me really nervous. And I think because, I mean, it's bad enough that Grandpa Don was over there trying to gaslight children. But this one makes me really nervous. And the reason is so many Americans have turned their backs on Israel. So many Americans are now not in support of Israel that they're desperate. They're desperate enough, I think, to stage a false flag attack against a lot of Americans. They're going to be very clever, very crafty. They're going to try really hard to make sure that we pin it on the Iranians or whoever they think that we should pin it on, so that to gaslight our youth especially back into the fold, to gaslight our youth into supporting Israel. This one makes me really nervous. What are they going to plan? Would it work? I think that if they did a false flag on American soil, I don't think it would work anymore. I think they would try it. It would get a lot of Americans killed, but I don't think in the end it would work. So it would be for nothing. And Americans, if anything, would turn on them even more because we know they did it, that they're the actual terrorists. They were the first, Israelis. You could look this up. This is like in the Encyclopedia Britannica. It's not a lie. Israelis were actually the very first to ever commit any terrorist attacks in the Middle East. If you look it up, Israel. Israelis, they weren't Israelis at the time. Israel wasn't a country, but Zionists were the first
there you
terrorists.
go. At least you got the right words.
Who introduced the concept of terrorism to the Middle East. So, but no, it's everybody else. Who's the terrorist? It's everybody else. Here's more gaslighting that we're seeing. The White House came out with this tweet that we're fighting this war. I don't know if you realize this, but it's imperative because we're fighting this war to open the Strait of Hormuz, because it was the Iranians who've been terrorizing us with their closure of the Strait of Hormuz for the last 46 years or something, 47 years. Here's the tweet. For decades, Iran has extorted the whole world by weaponizing the Strait of Hormuz to their terroristic will. Project Freedom will crush that threat and reopen the global commerce trade through the strait. Wait, what? The strait has always been open. And in fact, the only reason why it ever closed was because you started a war. That was it. It's actually been open for free trade this entire time. More free than other straits that charge, like through the Panama Canal. No, actually the Strait of Hormuz has been free trade and actually free. And now it isn't. And now you're trying to gaslight us into believing that, well, we have to fight this war because they've kept it closed for 47 years. The White House goes on to say, in this image with Pete Hegseth here, to remind of Iran's forces, if you attack American troops or innocent commercial shipping, you will face overwhelming and devastating American firepower. We prefer this to be a peaceful operation, but are locked and loaded to defend our people, our ships, our aircraft, and this mission without hesitation.
Shameful
Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. Yeah, I think that's what Iran said. I mean, we attacked them. They didn't attack first. We attacked them. They're defending their people and their country by closing off the Strait of Hormuz and making sure that ships don't go near their shore where they could lob more attacks. And of course, they know that there's economic pain, and wars are won in the economy, really. I mean, fundamentally, that's where a lot of them are won and lost. So more gaslighting. There's a lot of gaslighting with this war. Are people falling for this, do you think? Do you think people actually, like in your personal life, when you're out and about, when you're at work, do you hear people say, well, we have to fight this war because they closed the Strait of Hormuz? What are we going to do? Our gas prices are going up to like $6 a gallon. So we have to fight this war. I mean, are you hearing that in your life? Are people actually falling for this? They were going to get a nuke in 2 weeks. They were going to get a nuke in 2 weeks. Here's Donald Trump admitting that the United States, the empire, have just become a bunch of lawless pirates.
Turn your ship around. Evacuate your engine room immediately. And you see all these guys running out of there. Now, they're 5 miles away, and one shot into the engine room blew up the engine room. The ship stopped. Because
it's
and then
fun.
we landed on top of it. On top of everything else, we then land on top of it, and we took over the ship. We took over the cargo, took over the oil. It's a very profitable business. Who would have thought we were doing that? We're like pirates.
Yep, Pirates of the Caribbean. There's your Pirates of the Caribbean. But you call them narco-terrorists.
Been pushing everybody around.
Oh, really? Iran has been pushing everybody around for 47 years. I'm pretty sure a lot of countries have something to say about that, about who's actually been pushing them around. So there he is. He says, we're like pirates. We're sort of like pirates.
Yep,
this is
they
him
hammer the whole
speaking
earth.
Friday at the Forum Club of the Palm Beaches dinner in Florida, talking about the war in Iran and talking about us being pirates. And certainly, I mean, we kidnapped a leader of a foreign country, Venezuela, and basically extorted them for oil. So yeah, we are like pirates. We blew up a lot of fishermen. Maybe some were drug boats, but I don't remember when the last time in this country dealing drugs or selling drugs in any way was the death penalty, like what you'd get in Thailand or the Philippines. I mean, we've become pirates. And now we're saying we want Iran's oil, we want to take. And this has caused so many Americans, this is the shame of the whole thing. This is the shame
shameful
of it all,
spewing.
is that we used to be so proud to be Americans. We used to, really feel like our country fought for freedom. And maybe it never did, but we at least thought it did. We at least hoped it did.
Yeah,
we
the
believed it did,
illusion's
but now the
gone.
mask is off. And now we all see that no, America's just fighting for profit.
And like everything else, though, if you take a look at this show on Prime called The Boys, you know how they used to paint America as a superheroes? You had DC Comics and Marvel Comics. Well, Marvel's a little darker, but DC Comics in particularly, would paint America as heroes. Well, you watch The Boys and you're like, okay, these superheroes are really super villains. And that's who the hammer of the whole earth has been. You know, this, illusion that America's fighting for freedom, G.I. Joe, real American hero, all that shit's disappeared. Everybody knows that they're terrorists. That the real terrorists, the only threat to the world is terrorists. As terrorists is the U.S. They create terrorists and then they can totally control it, right? But like everything else, though, well, they want total control, right? So, you got this economic, crash that's coming, which they're doing deliberate. We know that it's done deliberately. And so they can have total control. So they can have everybody take the you-know-what, the MOTB, and they're going to mandate it. But they're going to bring it in through total control, digital surveillance, etc. AI, everything's going to be pretty much, you're going to have to approve everything in order to get somewhere. But this is what they want, They want to watch your every move, private eyes watching you. Yeah, well, as if you're not already in it up, but they want total control. And eventually they want everybody to have a mark placed in them, right? And you know what that leads to, right? Because the destruction is coming. So here's how they're going to get it, how it's going to roll out.
Global mayhem, that what is happening in Iran and the Middle East, gives the global cult everything it wants. The straight cap is the fertilizer components that underpin roughly half
building the perfect beast.
Supply. Some countries are already starting to run short of fuel and energy.
Here comes the rations.
The International Energy Agency says work from home, reduce highway speed limits, avoid air travel, shift from private cars to buses and trains, alternate private car access.
You don't even need COVID-19. They got everything else.
Major cities have been putting up number plate cameras. They say for another reason, but they're there. We might as well use them for this now. But if you go to that level, what's happening is exactly what it wants, to trash the old system so the new system of AI, human fusion, and absolute control can take its place. Cheers, Don. Nice one, mate.
Consider Amendment Number 1, printed in Part B of House Report 119-462. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk shall designate the amendment.
Amendment Number 1, printed in Part B of House Report Number 119-462, offered by Mr. Massey of Kentucky.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1014, the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Massey, and the member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Kentucky.
Mr. Chair, I rise in support of our amendment. This is co-sponsored by Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania and Mr. Roy from Texas. And I regret that we have to offer this amendment. What I'm going to describe will probably sound like a bad science fiction movie, but that's what's written into law. Right now in law, that's going to be implemented it says for 2026 and beyond. Now the reality is the technology doesn't exist, but that doesn't keep legislators from imagining things that they would like to do to infringe on civil liberties. But there is a law that states that every vehicle manufactured is going to have a kill switch in it. The car itself will monitor your driving. And if the car thinks that you're not doing a good job driving, it will disable itself. So the car dashboard becomes your judge, your jury, and your executioner. Imagine this. We got a snowstorm coming. A mom takes her kids out to go into the grocery store. It's snowing. They're trying to get some groceries before the big storm hits. She swerves for a pothole. The neighbor's pet gets in the way, swerves for that. First responder goes by. She pulls over. Her car says, "You got one more swerve, and then we're going to ground you." There it is. The next thing she has to avoid, an icy patch of the road. The car has adjudicated her as unsuitable for driving. It disables the vehicle, and there she's stranded. My question is, how do you appeal your sentence once your car, the technology in your car, has judged you to be incapable of driving? Once it's disabled you and your children at the side of the road, how do you appeal that? Do you press a button on the dashboard? Do you start talking to an AI? What if it really was somebody who was drunk? Are you really going to send a police car after this? Disabled vehicle? Do we have the resources to do that? There's going to be so many false positives. The technology is unworkable. That's why the DOT is still in the rulemaking process, asking for feedback on how this thing could even exist. And it's just a bad idea, but it's in law, and so our amendment would defund that. And with that, I'd like to reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Well, makes
Mr.
a
Chairman,
very
drunk
good
driving
point,
is a serious
doesn't it?
problem, but 31 states already have the technology to keep drunk drivers off of the road with ignition interlock devices that they can mandate. And this technology that's in the law is not going to fix the drunk driving problem. With that, I'd like to yield 2 minutes to my friend from Pennsylvania, Mr. Perry.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania is yielded 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for Kentucky for his work on this, and of course, the chairman of the full committee for the hard work on appropriations. Look, none of us want to be on the road with drunk drivers, and of course, this was a solution intended to deal with them. And all of us want them to be dealt with, but I'm going to remind everybody, as my friend from Kentucky just said, there is already legislation in multiple states, dozens of states, that deal with drunk drivers through the ignition interlock system. Probably in your family somewhere, someone you know, you've dealt with this. I know in my family and the people I know, I've dealt with it. But here's what I don't want to see in America. Everybody being punished for the people that drink and drive, including the ones that don't drink and drive. I happen not to drink, but I'm going to be forced to have this thing in my car, and I'm going to tell you what's next. After what Thomas said, after what Representative Massey said, the car is going to be the judge, jury, and sentencer for your crime in the car. The next thing is going to be, well, we need to hook this thing up to the government so we can dispatch the police. I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen next. They're going to be shutting your car off when they decide, whatever they decide from wherever they decide it. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about what you think about due process and the Constitution and the Fourth Amendment and the right to not be imposed upon by illegal, unlawful search and seizure, but punishing everybody for this crime, whether they've committed it or not, if they're going to commit it or not, should be unconstitutional. This shouldn't really be a question. We all want to get to the problem, and we're happy to work with everybody on all sides to deal with it. But you cannot convict, and punish everybody in the country for the sake of the ones that do things that they shouldn't do. And with that, I yield the balance to the gentleman from Kentucky.
The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Last time we offered this amendment, it had bipartisan support. I urge my colleagues to vote for this amendment. It would defund an unconstitutional and unworkable mandate that has already missed the deadlines. With that, I yield back.
Come on.
So here we go.
Now imagine there was an emergency outside the truck, an accident, something terrible on the ranch with a chainsaw. And I jump in this truck, but the truck, it won't shift into drive. Why? Because the cameras and sensors inside this cab won't let it shift. Because it detects my eyes are big, there's a lot of emotion, there's some panic, and it doesn't feel that I'm fit to drive. Now that's not science fiction, that is happening because Ford just filed the patents. Ford actually has a series of patents down at the U.S. Patent and Trade Office that deal with the sensors and cameras inside the cab of their truck. And if the sensors in that truck determine that you're not fit to drive, that truck will not actually shift from park to drive. Now they already have a system called telematics. And that's where they can actually pull up cameras in real time inside the cab of their fleet vehicles. Now, they actually market this to insurance companies because the truth is, this is really about who owns the data and who owns the liability. Now, your name might actually be on the title of this truck, and you may have paid for it, but you don't own it. Now, Ford didn't file just one patent. They filed a stack of them, all within months of each other. Are you sitting down? Get this. This Ford technology patent doesn't just watch you. This one puts you in jail. Ford filed a patent, serial number 0104469, where the system takes your biometric data, your face, your iris, and your fingerprint, and it runs it through a criminal database in real time. While you're sitting in your own truck, think about what that means. You wake up one morning. You walk out to your driveway. You climb into a vehicle with your name on the title, on property with your name on the deed. And before you go anywhere, before you've done a single thing wrong, your truck is already running your face through a law enforcement database. Ford's own patent language describes this as potentially useful for police. They wrote that. Ford wrote that into the patent application. So the question isn't whether this technology can be abused. Ford already told you who it's for. You just didn't know that you were buying a cop car. Now I'm going to walk you through a few of these patents. Lip reading, cameras inside your cab, machine learning trained on lip movement datasets. Cloud connected, your face processed somewhere you'll never see, stored as long as they want. Acoustic lip reading, if the cameras aren't enough, the system emits inaudible sound waves and reads the echoes bouncing off of your mouth. You can't see it, it's just happening. Biometrics, your face, fingerprint, iris, filed February 2024, and it was published August 2025. This one is assigned a serial number because it's real. Ad listening, this is scary. It monitors conversations between everyone in the cab. It serves targeted ads based on what you and others are talking about while you're driving. In Ford's words, maximum opportunity for ad-based monetization. No description of how that data is protected either. None. How about Ford Pro Telematics? Now this one isn't a patent.
This one is actually a product page. Right now, fleet managers can pull live in-cabin video feeds of drivers on their phones. Ford markets seatbelt compliance alerts with the explicit benefit of lowering insurance costs. They said it themselves. This is the infrastructure, and once the infrastructure exists, it's going to get used and abused. Now, Ford isn't alone in this. This is an arms race. Smart Eye driver monitoring software is already in over 2 million cars globally. The EU's general safety regulation mandates drowsiness systems as standard equipment going forward. GM deployed biometric seat sensors and heart rate monitoring in production trucks.
Basically, the world that they want for most people is going to look something like this.
Good morning, citizens. Your overnight account balances have been updated. Time to start a productive day.
Final notice, your account balance is below 500. You need 50 credits by the end of the day to avoid automatic eviction. If you have missed work due to illness, you must provide a doctor's note to reclaim your credits.
Any extra credits? Please.
Tensions are high today, with more people planning to join the Citizens Against Digital Control protest. Remember, the government knows who you are at all times. Resisting is not worth the consequences. All of their newest social credit systems are designed to keep you and your family safe and efficient.
Authorities seized a record balance of an individual's credits, citing excessive hoarding.
Traffic violation detected. 7 miles per hour over the limit. 75 credits have been automatically deducted.
You have to be fucking kidding me.
Yep, you got the flu. Your blood work shows a significant iron deficiency. I recommend incorporating more red meat into your diet.
Dr. Jones, your taxes were not filed and have been automatically deducted with late fees. Your medical license has been revoked.
Oh, hell nah. I filed an extension.
Purchase denied. Monthly red meat allowance exceeded. Try mealworms instead. Attention. Unauthorized political gathering detected. Participants' access to financial services has been suspended. Due to the speeding infraction, your car will be immobilized for 3 days.
Fuck you! Take your surveillance policies and rot in hell!
You've earned 50 bonus credits for reporting your neighbor's hateful misconduct. This content exceeds your current social credit tier. May we suggest citizen responsibility?
Yeah, that is what they want. Now, will they get it? That's still to be seen.
Yep. Every move a picture, right? Picture to picture. So here it's coming. Why we tell you time and time again, it's going to get worse before the kingdom comes. There it is.
An RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is getting straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say, yo, it's this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, you can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do,
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one-world government, controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people, and you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
Yep. And like everything else, though, you can see how that's slowly but surely getting into play. So, you know, we called it out. You know, many were calling it out, and here it is. United Arab Emirates media claims Saudi Arabia, not Iran, attacked to disrupt oil exports. Iran denies involvement. Now, why would Saudi Arabia do this? Oh, because OPEC. Duh. OPEC, remember? United Arab Emirates said that they would leave. Well, I thought the Israelis would have done. Oh, wait, the Saudis and the Israelis are one anyway. So, according to United Arab Emirates media reports, Saudi Arabia carried out the attack on sites of the United Arab Emirates aimed at disrupting oil exports. Iran denied responsibility for any strikes. These claims highlight rising tensions between Gulf neighbors amid ongoing regional conflicts. No independent verification available at this time, but pretty much so. What they're saying is that, due to leaving OPEC Plus, etc., that this one was carried out by Saudi Arabia, not Iran. So, OPEC Plus, that's all Saudi Arabia oil. Get it? Their main partner just left. So that's a retaliatory. But why not just blame Iran? Iran's getting the blame for everything. Because they suck up to, the king of Babylon. They give him blowjobs, etc. And they help molest children together. And so Jimmy Dore, who also happens to be good friends with Steve Peters' network as well, Jimmy Dore show, which we watch a lot of videos from him. Well, he's pretty much, been saying the same thing, as this goes into, exposing that, well, you just got to see it, man, continuing on with shameful spewing and just what we already know, right?
Attention here, if you are in Burbank or Tulsa, if you are in Oklahoma City or Atlanta or Raleigh or Spokane or Tacoma or Levittown, pay attention to this because you're going to want to make yourself available on a date that you will find at jimmydore.com. If you have the opportunity to go see Jimmy Dore live and in person, I went out to LA, great show. Sam Tripoli was there as well. Jimmy Dore is just a super talented guy. He's got a show Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays that you can find on YouTube. And you can find him on X at Jimmy_Dore, at Jimmy_Dore. He does that show Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays and dips into just about a little bit of everything. He's been there on the Charlie Kirk stuff and subsequently, of course, the Erica Kirk stuff because that's a whole trilogy that's ongoing. And it ties into, the military-industrial complex with Erica's mom being a defense contractor tied to Fort Huachuca. And now Candace Owens is being sued along with Mitch Snow for saying that they saw Brian Harpole on Fort Huachuca. So there's a lot going on there. There's a lot to cover, and Jimmy's just been all over that. The White House Correspondents' Dinner, and he's here with us now, our featured guest. You saw this White House Correspondents' Dinner stuff. Trey Yingst, who is an Israeli, he is the Fox News chief war correspondent. He lives in Israel. I guess he's lived there for 3 years. Flew in for the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and he was kind of directing the whole thing. So on one day, I was showing all these different clips about how he was like everywhere.
You just saw that previous video, right?
Making, weird comments in these interviews. And then the next day, I found this clip of him where he was, it appears, grabbing the attention of and directing a canine handler just moments before that very same canine handler met up with the guy that they tell us is Cole Thomas Allen, who was going to shoot Donald Trump and his whole cabinet, minus Kash Patel with a pump-action shotgun. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw that. Unbelievable. But he said he was just going to shake hands with people, and I like what Ian Carroll said. If he was going to shake hands with people, that's the gayest handshake I've ever seen in my life.
Isn't it kind of like universally accepted that you're going to go shake somebody's hand, whether you're right or left-handed, you just shake with your right hand?
Yeah, who shakes hands like this? Like your Liberace asking someone to kiss your ring. What? Like, nobody shakes hands like that. And that's the fact that you figured out he's Israeli. Isn't that something? It's very anti-Semitic to say how much control Zionists and Israel have of our media, of our government, that we have Zionist occupied government. And the reason why there's such big pushback against that, they have to demonize it, is because it's true. And if it wasn't true, no one would give a shit. If you told me, the Irish control the government and they control the banks and they control Hollywood and they control the media, it would be funny. If you said the Arabs did that, the Arabs control Hollywood, it would be funny. Or if you said the Arabs control the government of the United States, it would be funny.
Because it's not true.
Because it's obviously not true. But if you say that about Israelis and Zionists, you'll get called every dirty name in the book and they'll try to deplatform you. And they wouldn't do that if it wasn't true.
Because it is true.
That's right.
If these people just continue to lash out, Ted Cruz was actually just giving a speech. Do you know that this week he's actually going to be traveling to Las Vegas to accept the Israel Defender Award from Miriam Adelson at her mansion?
It's gross, man. It's absolutely disgusting. How about the pedo who got arrested in Las Vegas and then immediately let go back to Israel, and he'll never show back up? He was a high rank. He was in charge of the digital communications or security.
Yeah, he worked for the cybersecurity directorate.
Yeah. And so, we're ruled by criminals and pedophiles who have no loyalty to the United States. They have no affinity for the United States.
Pedophiles like Trump. Trump's an Israeli.
And
he just wasn't born there, right?
It's a weird thing to wake up to at my age. But it's been like this for a long time. Pat Buchanan was talking about it in the early 90s, and people were talking about it earlier than that. So, yeah, it's weird, and I hate to be a pessimist, but there's no way to vote our way out of this. If there's anything Donald Trump's last election proved, there's no way to vote your way out of this. And
well, the thing with Donald Trump and his last election, though, is that it wasn't really an election, and he was always, in my opinion, an actor. Do you think so? I mean, he's kind of always been a hired gun for these people, hasn't he?
Well, I don't know if he's always been, but he certainly is this time. I don't think they tried to bankrupt him and jail him because he was working with them. They tried to do that because they needed to get his mind right. And guess what? It worked. He got his mind right. And now he's doing anything. He still won't end the Ukraine war. He's still funding a genocide. He did the biggest blunder in the history of the presidency by attacking Iran for not only the United States, but for the world. And people aren't completely feeling the pain right now. They are seeing their gas prices go up, and it's horrible for him and the Republicans. So now a lot of people are saying that they're going to impeach him and then they're going to convict him in the Senate. I don't think he's going to get convicted because just like Jeffrey Epstein, who's not dead, they take care of the people who play along, and he's playing along.
The shekels help as well. The jail time stuff. I agree with all that, but the shekels help. I mean, they've given this guy, collectively $235 million, and that's just solely from AIPAC and Miriam and Sheldon Adelson. I mean, there's all kinds of other...
Well, yeah, and then he gets to manipulate the markets, the oil markets. I mean, his son Barron just made $135 million in one day the other day. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, they're all raking it in, and no doubt about it. And he's doing the bidding of the billionaire class, because he is a billionaire. He's class loyal.
And this thing takes us to war now, where we have about 15,000 young American men that just deployed to the Middle East. Do you think it stops there?
I don't know. I'm bad at predicting. No, I don't think it stops at 15,000. There's a lot of people. I just had on my show yesterday. I forget who I had on, but I can't. I know.
Just a completely unimpressive guest I had on yesterday.
Very impressive guest. A guy who I love. He's an ex-CIA analyst, Ray McGovern.
Oh yeah. Yep. Okay.
And he had two kind of hopeful notes. One was that General Dan King, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, he seems to be sober, and he's against all this warmongering and all this stuff, and also that Putin made a phone call to Trump, and the last time he made a phone call to Trump, it had a big effect with how he treated Zelensky, and how he decided not to send cruise missiles to Ukraine and stuff like that. And this time he did another phone call, and tell him better not restart this war. It's going to be bad. And so I hope, fingers crossed, if Donald Trump does start the war again, Iran is done doing. They're not going to retaliate. They're going to escalate immediately. As Scott Ritter said on my show, they're going to go for the jugular. They're going to hit the desalination plants in the Gulf region. And as when that happens, those are deserts. And in 72 hours, it becomes a humanitarian crisis. Those people have to leave. So those countries will be empty.
And where will they go?
And you tell me, where will they go? They're not going to Israel.
And they're going to be welcome here with open arms because they're victims of Iranian aggression.
They're going to go. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. They're going to go to Europe. They're going to go to the United States, and that's the. I mean, if history is any guide, that's exactly what's going to happen.
So you had Dan Bilzerian on recently too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to Dan. So he's running in Florida, 6th congressional district, taking on Randy Fine. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm so glad to see somebody taking on Randy Fine and exposing the Zionist grift and the control. I tried to impress upon him that most of the Jews I know don't go along with people in the United States. Don't go along with Israel. Don't go along with the guys like Randy Fine. And I think it's a mistake when he tried to paint all Jews. It's certainly there's certainly a sickness in the culture of Israel, and Zionism is certainly an evil.
You down with the sickness,
ideology.
right?
But
even Amalekites don't like their government.
In fact, I think
that's what he's
I was
saying.
at dinner with Dennis Kucinich the other night, and somebody said that the biggest homogeneous block of people opposing the Iran war were Jews in the United States. So I didn't know that. So I just think that I think.
Where do they all come from? How do they become the biggest block? I'm always told that they're this super minority.
There's not that many. That's the thing too. There's so few Jews in the world, and they have all this power, and they're so overrepresented in all these different areas of culture. It's kind of amazing. But there's something sick about Zionism, and there's certainly something sick about the Israelis. I mean, they did their own poll. It was published in Haaretz. That something like 70% of the people believe they should get rid of all the Palestinians, and that they're not doing. They're being too easy on them and stuff. I mean, it's just a crazy. We've seen all of it, and
Randy Fine, by the way, is one of those guys. He literally tweeted, "Kill them all."
Yeah. And it's funny that and there's such a double standard that Dan Bilzerian called Randy Fine a fat Jew, and he was immediately called it's anti-Semitic. The guy from TMZ Levin was like, "That's anti-Semitic, Dan. I'll tell you."
Well, Levin is Jewish. You understand that?
Yeah, but if you call someone a fat Italian, that's not anti-Italian. If you call somebody any other word, it's not any other ethnicity. If you call, it's not anti that, but they have a special cutout for Jewish people, which is really suspicious.
You know what
they're
else
not
is suspicious
really
is
the
how all
Jews.
of those people seem to have flocked to Turning Point USA and all that funding.
Oh, well, it's the Turning Point USA, Stu, you know, what I found out was that it was created as a Zionist organization. I think the guy who figured that out was Charlie Kirk, and as soon as he figured that out, they killed him. He was surrounded by, it was a Truman Show, all those guys. It appears that they're all deep state plants, you know, from Andrew Colvett, right? And now Brian Harpo's suing people left and right. It's so funny to watch the guy.
I just got a certified letter from Brian Harpole today. That's serious. I have no idea why. You know, I have no idea what it says. I just know that it's at the house, and I got a certified letter from Brian Harpole.
I never accept certified letters. I always say he's not home, and I close the door.
Yeah, well,
it's never good news. It's never good. It's always like, hey, you didn't respond to your jury summons, which was the last time I got a certified letter. My wife answered the door and like, no, you're not supposed to do this. So anyway, I don't ever sign for certified letters, and that's one reason. I wonder what it is. I wonder what Dan Harpo wants from you, and I'm sure he's going to send something to me. These people are overly litigious. They're very much like Ben Shapiro. It's the same law firm that Ben Shapiro that was using to go after Candace Owens, right?
Yeah, it traces back to Harmeet, Dillon.
Yeah, that's it.
Some law firm out of West Palm Beach is all I know.
Who's now in a real position of power, who's writing all the anti-Semitism rules and laws inside the White House.
Have you read Project Esther?
No, I haven't.
Here we go. This was really
pages,
good.
And Project Esther, it was authored by the so-called conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation. And they were the ones that presented multiple things to President Trump. This is a doctrine that was officially adopted by the Trump administration, and these 34 pages talk about criminalizing anti-Semitism.
No
and
kidding.
They talk about the 2-year timeline that Trump has to complete the rolling out of Project Esther. Now, Project Esther was named after the Jewess who thousands of years ago tried to genocide the Persians. And I don't think that it was any kind of coincidence that this war with Iran kicked off during the week of the Purim celebrations, which commemorate that genocide that was led by a Jewess called Esther. And so, all of this stuff is not, to me, coincidental. I think that there's a very much spiritual component to all of this. I think that there's really evil, involved here, and that these people plot and they scheme and they plan, and that they, religiously, satanically get off on the misery and the suffering and the control that they are able, the power that they're able to exert on other people.
Yep, the least of the flock, which is the worst of them, which explains who Nero 47 really is. He's one of them, been saying it for quite some time. He's one of them. He's not just on there, he is them, AI control grid is here. Mandatory surveillance and kill switches installed in all cars, just one piece of the intercontinental AI mission. See, even he's reporting on it. So, you saw the first video, right? So, they got a total police state, right? On the Tuesday show, Alex Jones covered the AI control grid already embedded into automobiles for over a decade. So, again, reiterating.
The kill switches in all the new cars by law this year, and again, this stuff was already in 20 years ago in fancy Audis and Mercedes and stuff. This was in there. Driver assistance safety features. And for 10 years, it's in most, mid-grade cars. It's in there by law now. And it's watching, it's tracking, It's controlling everything. And I'm explaining, people are like, oh, this could be dangerous. Oh, it can make you wreck. It's already causing problems. It's way worse than that, folks. It's about getting rid of human drivers. That's the plan. And it's about getting rid of cars for the general public and private car ownership. That's all admitted by these people. So if you want the rest of the story and know what the end game is, I know from their own statements for decades. I've been talking about this for decades. It's been planned out. But knowing about it in any plan, as G.I. Joe says, is half the battle.
I've seen a few posts about this, and I wanted to comment on it because I have a personal experience with it. It isn't something that's happening in the future. It's something that's happening now. I rented a car in Europe, and as the woman handed me the car keys, she said, this is a brand new car, and she was like super excited about it. She was like, it's 2026, and I was like, awesome. No one's had a chance to fart or smoke in it. This will be great. And I'd driven it for a day or two, and I was getting on a highway. It was a 6-lane highway, and all of a sudden the gas stopped working, and I'm pressing on the gas. I can't get the car to go. So the car is dinging. It's making all this noise, and I can't figure out what's going on. And I look at the dashboard, and in English, it says, "Sit up straight. We can't find your eyes." Why do you need to see my eyes? That was my first thought. And I'm short, so I sit low in the seat, and I guess, I don't know, maybe I'd been driving a while and I'd kind of slouch down more instead of sitting upright. And when I sat upright, the gas would work once again. And so I pressed the gas, but I was slowing down enough that it was going to cause a traffic hazard. And the thing is, it knew I wasn't asleep because I was pressing on the gas. So it knew I was awake. It just wanted to see my eyes. So once I sat upright and leaned forward, I guess it did facial recognition. And then it says, "May I send you these results to a third party?" To which I said, "No, you may not." No. Who is the third party? First of all, who's watching me drive the car to begin with? Secondly, who is the third party you're sending it to?
So when you hear, oh, they passed a law 5 years ago that all cars by this year have kill switches in them, it's not just a kill switch, that if you've been drinking or tired, it's tracking and scanning your eyes with cameras in live time and videoing it and sending it back for human review on record. And whether you're in Australia or Italy or the United States, it's all being rolled out globally by corporate standardization that's in line with the governments. Just like the vaccine passports have been set up globally by the UNWF. It's all one giant plan.
And he's right about that, see? So, like everything else, of course, another halt to it, right? After humiliation and, quite simply put, a, false flag that's been exposed, because United Arab Emirates is officially saying that was Saudi Arabia, not Iran, even though they try to push that Iran's already attacked, has conducted this many attacks since the ceasefire, try to justify means to go back to war with them, right? They are at war. This war is it's a fake ceasefire to begin with. Project Freedom perishes in 48 hours as Trump retreats under the wall of Iran's asymmetric deterrence. A systematic deterrence, I think is how you say it. This is not an isolated tactical pause. He wants the world to believe the third strategic retreat by the U.S. in less than a month, a sequence of capitulations, reveals a profound and irreversible shift in the balance of power in the Persian Gulf. First retreat was a ceasefire following the devastating 40-day scale war against Iran, in which the U.S. and Israeli war machine failed to achieve even a single strategic objective. Second retreat was the unilateral extension of that ceasefire and the first round of negotiations. The third and most telling is the suspension of an operation whose very continuation would have inevitably reignited full-scale Iranian retaliation. At its core, this decision exposes a singular, undeniable truth. Trump has belatedly repeated that he holds no cards, no good options, no viable coalition, but that's not what he's telling everybody else. He's telling them that they want to make a deal. That's what he's telling everybody. Iran blasts unrealistic White House wish list to end the war after U.S. tells it to close the deal. So, like everything else, I can say that Iran, he already said it, that, their demands are too impossible. Well, now they're saying that there's a deal and, Axios reports that D.C. is nearing a preliminary deal with Iran to end the war. As Trump post appears to offer olive branch, D.C. says it expects response to the latest offer within 48 hours. So, here we go. Democrats push Trump to acknowledge the Israeli nukes. Yeah, this is coming out as well. Because besides Pakistan, Israelis have nuclear weapons as well. But who are they to tell? And I think Saudi Arabia has them over there. You know, so who are they to tell Iran you can't have nuclear weapons anyways, should they have wanted them? Democrats pushed Trump to acknowledge the Israeli nukes. 30 members of Congress demanded recognition of the long-standing open secret. More than 24 House Democrats demanded that Trump administration acknowledge Israeli possession of nuclear weapons in a letter revealed by Washington Post Tuesday. The U.S. has long positioned itself a leading opponent of nuclear proliferation, but when Israeli state secretly developed nukes of its own, the Nixon administration decided to accept the secret program and protect Israel from the international criticism, which, as you know, they can do whatever they want to. No repercussions, right? Because who controls the UN? Those Israelis do. Release the flock because they own the U.S. You may as well call it the Israeli States of America. I've said that on numerous occasions. Because that's who runs everything. Well, I'm not the only one saying it. Everybody knows that the Zionists run everything. UK faces summer flight disruptions as jet fuel risks mount. So, like everything else, though, you know, air travel being limited and impacted, all being done purposely. Ministers set to warn the British public that flight cancellations will hit summer holiday plans, as new research suggested that the UK is more exposed to jet fuel shortages than any other European country. So, warnings follow a prompt from Keir Starmer that people would have to consider changing where they go on holiday. Yep, so they're telling you where you can and can't go. Amid Iran's resilience, Trump says pausing plan to reopen Strait of Hormuz. So like everything else, though, you know. U.S. President Trump said he is pausing the so-called Project Freedom, new interventionist military adventure with the self-described aim of reopening the strait, amid strict controls being exercised over the waterway. Trump made the announcement on his post on Truth social platform Wednesday, declaring initiation of this project. Framed as humanitarian effort, so pretty much because he's of course going to say, they've been doing this for 47 years, gaslighting, etc., right? Trump's new Iran negotiator is Israeli lobbyist who denounced talks with Iran. So there's also that too. You got to do what they tell you, right? Well, Trump is already an Israeli. He just wasn't born there, right? He's at least a flock. He's Amalek too. U.S. added a hardline Iron Hawk and former pro-Israeli lobbyist to negotiating team, in a move that is likely to fuel speculations that D.C.'s Iran policy is being shaped by Israel first officials. The appointment comes after months of failed diplomacy in which D.C.'s demands shifted from preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons to adopting Israeli maximist red lines, no uranium enrichment, and then the inclusion of Iran's ballistic missile program. So, that's why these demands are impossible on the U.S., and there's no way Iran is going to do it either. So you see where it's going, right? But there's no peace talks. Trump pauses Project Freedom amid potential deal with Iran. That's what he's telling everybody. While the military operation to escort ships in the strait is on hold, the U.S. says the blockade on Iran will remain. So, yeah. Because they're talking now, trying to come to an end of the war, right? That's what they're telling everybody. Turkey unveils its first ICBM. Photos and video. Hypersonic missile would be used without hesitation if needed, Defense Minister said. So like everything else, though, that's another one that has intercontinental ballistic missiles. Turkey unveiled its first intercontinental ballistic missile, which officials say will significantly boost the country's long-range strike capability. And you already know they have the launchers, the S-400s. That was a done deal a while back. So we'll go ahead and play this here. This is a prophecy in the making right here. And these will be used. the Israeli state is going to eventually be wiped out, because you already know Gomer and all its troops are there. And keep in mind, a lot of those verses in Ezekiel 38 is also talking about the nukes. You know, think about the armies that are around that area, all having missiles, because we know Damascus ceases in that day. Well, what do you think caused it to begin with, right? So we'll just get back into Ezekiel 38, because again, we're seeing prophecy in the making, right? So, you know, I'd often refer to those shield and helmet as those missile launching systems anyways. You know, S-400s, etc., which we know Turkey has. So, like everything else, though, well, I'll start in verse 2, right? Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, a.k.a. Russia, and the leader of Russia, right? The chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, you know, so talking about Russia. And thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, you know, which is the leader of Russia. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws and bring thee forth all thine army, horses and horsemen, because you've often heard of these missiles being known as horsemen, right? You know, army, horses, horsemen. All of them clothed with all sorts of armor, a great company of bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, meaning these missile launch systems. S-400s, S-300s, S-200s, all of them. You know, everything. And who's going to be supplied with them, right? Well, it tells you, right? Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. Well, you know, now it makes sense. With them. They're going to be supplied with them, right? These ICBMs, duh. All of them with shield and helmet. Think about that, though. Gomer and all its troops, the house of Togarmah, the north quarters, and all its troops, and many people with thee. Because that's what bands means. Be thou prepared, prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. You know, a.k.a. a lookout for them. So, they're going to have these systems in place, as well as Russia backing them, because these are all Russian-made anyways. In many days thou shalt be visited in the latter years, and thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword. Talking about the Israeli state, right? Against the mountains of Israel, which have always been waste, but is brought forth out of the nations. It's going to come against those 1948ers. Thou shalt ascend like a storm, thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands there, and many people with thee. So like everything else, though, there is a nuclear war coming, and we know who started it. We know that the Israeli state is the one to start the war. We know that. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, shall also come to pass at the same time, things shall come into thy mind, thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, having neither bars nor gates. You know, and that is pretty much to take a spoil, meaning to destroy them. You know, to come up against them, which includes the U.S., by the way. Babylon, the king of Babylon. Take a spoil and take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that have gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. Those Israelis. So, pretty much so, and the Israeli states of America, for that matter. Babylon and the Israeli state is going to lose in this war. And like everything else, though, that's when Yahweh Shai and the angels come back to gather his elect as these missiles get deployed, you know, because that's where they're going to be raining down upon. Israeli state is not going to survive. You've already seen what Iran could do with their intercontinental ballistic missiles. You see the damage done to Tel Aviv. No wonder why they needed a ceasefire, but Iran made them have to wait all the way, you know. And then they finally said, all right, I think you've had enough. It's kind of like when you watch Happy Gilmore and he picks a fight with Bob Barker, and Bob Barker beats the shit out of him and says, I think you've had enough. No. And he comes back and hits him again. Now you've had enough, bitch. Well, that's what Iran did. You know, and we already know that even the previous Operation True Promises, Israeli state got hit hard. But that never stopped them, right? Because they're still like Pharaoh, still in their heart that they think they can win. Well, that's because, it's the Most High himself that gives them the evil thoughts, that's saying, oh, okay, because who speaks to these leaders? Anyways, we know that Yahweh's in charge, so he speaks to them, so hopefully this has all been edifying. Got one more here before I close this out, and this is not the time to bug out, but, here's, if you will, the bug out of the week video. Because, we have to expose false prophets. So, Shalom, Barak Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakakadash, Wa Abba Babal. Brakatom, Jehovah elect.
Shalom, call Lane Wow, Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakak Kwadash. Double honors to Apostle Elder Great Millstone, Shalom to Hopeful Elect. This is Brother Call from GMS Cleveland Camp, a little edifying lesson. Getting straight to it, 2 Timothy 3 and verse 13. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them. All right, this is going into right here. This is one of the hot topics right now. This guy, which quick testimony, actually, he was one of the first, he's not the first, but he was one of the first Israelite camps I watched. My first video, I saw literally the only IUIC video I ever watched was a video that came on my suggestion. I saw them out there teaching about, they had one of the posters up showing what Yahushua really looked like, what his real, obviously not what his real name was, but the so-called Jesus Christ was the so-called black man, and it got me, piqued my interest. But one of the second groups I watched, this maybe like a month after, was literally this group. He used to have a group called Honor and Humility. I don't know if he's still part of it. He was one of the head guys there. He was like one of the number 3 guys, whatever. I don't know if he's still. I don't think he even teaches at all. I think he found some success like selling herbs and doing herb shit, and now that's just his whole thing. And even when I was watching him, he was going off in the doctrine. He was teaching about actual real giants, butchering the scriptures, and he was speaking against the apostle Elder Great Millstone, which of course I was at the time. I had no idea who the apostles were, and I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until later. I found the apostles and I found G. Great Millstone. All right, literally, he was saying that he got those niggas in New York yelling at everybody. And I didn't have a clue what the hell he was talking about, but later I was like, oh wow, he was scoffing the apostles. All right, this bugged out nigga. But going to show you again, I read the verse about they shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and be deceived. Now, mind this is years ago. This is like 7 years ago now. And literally when I was watching him, and now this dude, like I said, I don't even think he even teaches anymore, but now he's openly saying how he's not looking for the Messiah to save him. And he used to actually call the name Yahweh Shai. Now he's saying Jesus. Okay, when I was watching him years ago, he was actually teaching the name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. Now he's not. So let's just play this clip, man.
We're in hell right now. I think this is hell. Now, do I believe in Yahshua ben Yosef? Yes, I believe that he walked and he exists. There's too many documents showing that he did. And once 1,000 people write about you, they had to see something. Right? But do I believe that Jesus coming back to save me? Hell no. I believe that in the book it tells you truly must save yourself. They was looking for the kingdom of Yah, right? And Christ Yahshua, or I say the Messiah, was with them. And he told them the kingdom of God do not come by observing the heavens. It don't come by you looking up. He said, for the kingdom of God is in the midst of you. For the kingdom of God is amongst you. The kingdom of God is inside you. So I think the only way to be saved is by saving yourself. And I believe that who they call Jesus Christ, Yahshua, laid out the blueprint and the foundation for us to follow these things to save ourselves. So no, I don't think there's going to be somebody that cracked the sky and come save us. Because we have been through the worst. We have been at the lowest of the lowest of the lowest points. I mean, like everything, if you just look at all the monstrosities that have happened to our people for thousands and thousands of years.
Like again, this now let's reanalyze that. He said, I believe this is hell. He's correct about that. That's true. This is hell for the Israelites, man. Hell is a living condition. It's not some imaginary place you burn forever. Which we have, brothers have, Great Millstone has thorough, in-depth breakdowns going into that, proving what hell's really talking about. I'm not about to spend this whole video going into that. But he's talking about, let me go back so I can actually see what he said.
I believe that we're in hell right now. I think this is hell. Now, do I believe in Yahshua ben Yosef?
Again, going to show you again. First and foremost, he's a dreadhead nigga, which a lot of them, they was dreadhead niggas back then years ago. All right, but again, I know for a fact, my own testimony, I know he used to he used to call him for the name Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. All right, they used to mix that you hate, why hate shit in there, which again, that the tetragrammaton, but tetragrammaton is just missing the A's at the end. The Yah, okay, ha, wah, ha, and then of course the connector, you get rid of the A at the end for the name Yahweh. All right, but they actually say Yahweh Shai for the name of the Messiah. The fact that he's not saying it anymore, again, going to show you that wax worse and worse. And that's how I always go. When you get rebellious, you scoff the apostles. When you would say you're rebellious with the dreads, you rebellious on the doctrine. Eventually, Yahweh Shai, he takes his name away from you, and he takes the doctrine completely from you. You become completely bugged out. Now they used to really teach about the chance and all. They used to teach that the nuclear missiles going to hit, the ICBMs, they get here in 30 minutes, and you got 30 minutes to hope you get beaten up in the chariot. Now he's saying that he don't believe the Messiah's going to come back. He's going to some, he know he's selfish too. The Lord put that super deep demon on him. But he think he's so deep. But really, you gotta get into the herbs, and then you gotta find your way to become to get delivered by yourself. The Messiah not coming to save you. When there are how many precepts about Yahushua physically coming back to save us? What the fuck are you talking about, man? All right, but again, this is a proud nigga. The Lord Lord been to the spirit from him, but he is getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, man. All right, I believe this nigga was talking about. Well, I forgot what it was a couple years ago. He was talking about you shouldn't even drink water or something, bugged out shit or whatever, man. All right, but nevertheless, man. I'm not gonna be long with this. Like I said, I just want to know, it's like a hot topic right now. Okay, literally, man, talking about Yaki awakened. He's not gonna crack the. I'm gonna play this again. Not gonna crack the clouds. Like, bro, what? Talking about all things we've been through as a people, nigga. The reason, the real purpose of Yahweh Shai is to save us from everything we've been going through as a people. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? Like, bro, what? This is folly, bro. What the fuck are you talking about, man? This dude, you're just blatantly ignoring the scripture. This is Revelation 1:7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, chariots, which he used to teach about, and every eye shall see him. Means what? You're only going to physically see him. He's talking about because Yahushua said, he's calling him Yeshua or Jesus. He's talking about going off. He's talking about, he said, he in the heaven coming out, observation. You're breaking down the scriptures wrong. All right, Yahushua is going to physically come back, just like he walked the earth 2,000 years ago during the Roman Empire. He's going to come back in this modern Roman Empire, Babylon the Great, ran by the same people, the Edomites, so-called white man. Okay, deliver the elect of his people. And he's right. He said, "Do I believe the Messiah is coming to save me?" No. He said, "Hell no." He's right about that. Messiah Yahushua is clearly not coming back to save him because he's none of Yahushua. So he's right about that. Yahushua damn sure ain't coming to save you, nigga. All right. So you're right about that part. But again, Revelation 1:7, behold, he cometh with clouds, the chariots, so-called UFOs, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindred of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. So again, everybody's going to see Yahushua. He's physically going to come back. What are you talking about, man? All right? What the fuck? Like I said again, this is what he actually taught before. So again, like the precept I started off with, he's wax worse and worse. Deceiving and being deceived. He's deceived, man. Like I said, he found success. He's getting money off selling them expensive ass herbs on his website and shit. Hey, this nigga ain't worried. He ain't looking for the kingdom. This nigga just happy. He know he's like he here, man. All right. How about Shimon Shai not dealing with this dude? I mean, do I really have to sit here and get all the precepts about Yahweh Shai coming back? Even a bugged out Christian can quote verses to you about Yahweh Shai coming back, the Messiah coming back. Like, what the fuck is this dude talking about, man? I believe you gotta save yourself, nigga. One of the main points that Yahweh Shai wanted to prove to us Israelite men was that we couldn't save ourselves. Like, you got that movement, black men save yourself. You can't save yourself. You so-called black Latino Native Americans, okay, you Israelites. Which again, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on that black only shit. He probably believe it's only the Southern Kingdom. But anyway, you Israelites, so-called Negro Latino Native American men. One of the points that the Heavenly Father proved in putting us and allowing us to go off and putting us in sinful flesh and allowing the heathen to be over us was to prove that we couldn't save ourselves and that we needed him. But yet, to this day, you got niggas talking about, well, I believe we gotta save ourselves, man. Ridiculous, man. Hey, Lord, it's just a quick hit, man. I'm not about to pull out 1,001 precepts on the Lord coming. I mean, obviously, getting this slocky ass finger, brother. Okay, I'm not about to pull out 1,001 precepts about the Lord coming back, bro. This is literally basics. But this is like, bro, you don't believe that? I mean, I don't know what you don't even believe the scriptures, nigga. Like, what are you talking about? I believe we gotta save ourselves. How the fuck we gonna do that, man? He laid out the blueprint to save ourselves, nigga. What? He walked and was sinless, nigga. It's like, we can't do that. What are you talking about? Shalom.